1980s. Now, I know some of y'all think that I was not born until 1990, but it was in the 1980s. It was on Sunday morning, and it was on E.J. Daniels' broadcast, which is on Channel 13. Now, we had an antenna when I was growing up. We had an antenna in our house until I left home, as far as I can remember. And so you got Channel 3, Channel 9, Channel 13. Y'all remember those days? All right, Channel 13 had Send the Light on Sunday morning. Dr. Ralph Sexton Sr. Program, and then E.J. Daniels. I remember E.J. Daniels talking about in Korea how that he had gone over there on a mission trip to present, just to preach in some of these churches and all the things that were going on. And he said he was there at a church, and he began to set up all of his display and about his ministry and that type of thing while he was there. About 2 hours before the service began, there was a church, and there was just thousands of people in the church praying. And so he left. He started looking for somebody. He ended up leaving with the guys that he came with, and or in the building. He came back to that place, and where he was sitting, they were still praying. They were still in the building. So he asked the interpreter, "What is wrong? What is has there something happened? Is there a tragedy that has taken place, or something happened in the church, and people are here praying?" And the interpreter said, "No." He said they are praying for God to send revival to America, because they know if God keeps America free and America honors God, that America will help South Korea, keep South Korea free, and the gospel will come here. This was 2 hours before a regular church service. And so he said this became, everywhere that he went, this became the pattern that he began to see, that people everywhere, Christians that he went to, they were a praying people. And so whenever Brother Ralph Sexton went about 3 years ago, he came back and he said, "Man, it is happening." That is exactly what we've been talking about for all these years. They do it in Korea. And whenever how this trip came about, Brother Ralph or Brother Rick Cope asked me one night. He said, "Man, you need to go to Korea." I just kind of laughed. Y'all know how that is, don't you? And he was just that really didn't. That there was just a few that were going, and really wasn't an open spot or whatever. He was just kidding around. Then he called me back one night. He said, "Really?" He said, "God, I was watching Billy Graham. When Billy Graham passed away, they were showing on TV. Dr. Billy Graham with Billy Kim was in Korea watching that crusade. It was 10 o'clock at night when Rick called me. He said, 'Man,' he said, 'I really feel like you're supposed to go to Korea.' I was watching Korea on the TV, watching the crusade in 1973. And so we kind of just talked about it a little bit, laughed. The next day, I get another phone call. Brother Ralph called me. He said, 'Man, God is speaking to me about you going to Korea. I want you to pray about it and let me know, like right now, you going?' So I told him we didn't know by Monday. This was on Friday. God just continued to work everything out. And I want to be honest with you. It is a life-changing experience. And I hope tonight, I know there's no way I can really convey to you what took place in my life and what was taking place in Korea, but I want to give you just a little glimpse into it. I know that some of you followed us on Facebook that whole time, and thank you for that. There were some moments that were awesome and some moments in cab rides that were unbelievable. So, but I want to bring you a little bit of Korea, and I'm going to try to do it within a timely manner. When you talk about going to Korea, we left here, went to Detroit. From Detroit, it was 670 miles, about a 14-hour flight there. So we are arriving. We left on Tuesday. We're arriving there on Wednesday. This was at the airport there in Seoul, Korea. This is downtown Korea, the very right where we were staying the whole time. We stayed at a place called the Glad hotel. We were glad that it had an American name. The word glad, so we would know if we ever got lost, we just need to go to glad. And that helped us out a whole lot. But on Wednesday, we basically got in and went to the hotel, ate, just kind of talked about some things that were going to happen. This begins our next day on Thursday morning, which was Wednesday evening over here. On Thursday morning at 7 a.m., we are at the FEBC. Does anybody know what that means? That is the Far East Broadcasting Company. It is like what we have here, WMIT, the 106.9, and it is over there in Korea, started years ago by Dr. Billy Kim. Everywhere we went, regardless of what it was, there was a chapel in every community, in every kind of business. They had chapels where they met with all their workers every day. This is inside of FEBC. This is their Thursday morning chapel service. It is a total, you can see it right here. There is a choir that morning in their chapel service. This is a place of business. This is the FEBC. Even though it's a Christian business, they had a band, they had people singing, they had a preacher. Brother Ralph is the one who ends up, he is there preaching. Inside this building, and I hope I'm going to, y'all just hang with me. It's the first time I've ever done that. It's the first time I've ever been to Korea. Okay? So y'all hang out with me a little bit. I want to kind of just go through some things that were in the building. When we went, you go into a chapel service, they took an offering. Every service we were in, every prayer meeting they have, which is every morning of the week from Monday to Friday, in every Christian church there is, they always took an offering. Even at the place of business. And then those places of business supported missionaries. Do you know that Korea is number one in the world for sending foreign missionaries? They send more foreign missionaries, they send more missionaries around the world than any other country in the world. Does anybody know what number, if you will, where we are ranked as the United States of America in sending foreign missionaries around the world? Anybody know the number? We are number 16 in sending missionaries. We are the only proclaimed Christian nation in the world. We're sending less missionaries than 15 other countries. If I get a hold of you for just a second, and maybe going through this will help you to understand why they are where they are. This is inside the building of the FEBC. After the service, we're going to take a tour of this building. You think, well, you're going to tour like a radio station, and you're going to tour what is going on there, how they are broadcasting, that type of thing. It is more like a museum of things that have taken place, and then showing how around the world God is using this one ministry. And so in this ministry, these are just little signs. I do not expect you to be able to read all of these, okay? But I can put them out to where you can read them. But this is simply the purpose of the FEBC is a radio ministry enterprise for the sole purpose of taking the gospel of Jesus Christ to the world by radio. When I entered into Korea and I began to hear the language of the people, I'm not talking about the Korean language, I'm talking about their heartbeat of what they talked about, I realized I had walked into a whole different country. Not talking about because of their language or because of their culture, but I'm talking about I began to walk with Christians like it was in the book of Acts. I'm like, wow, does this really happen? Is this really real? That it is so real that people really live like they did in the book of Acts. Their sole purpose. One young man who was our He was one of our drivers. He's about 27 years old, 25, 27 years old. And he was asked, what do you really want to be in life? What is your goal? He said, I want to be a businessman and make a lot of money. That don't sound like a bad goal, does it? But here's his reasoning behind it. He said, it does not take me much to live. I do not have to have a whole lot of money to live. But if I can do that, I can support the work of God. That is a 27-year-old young man. How do you get to that point to where that is the mentality? And so what is going on is there that culture that is being built. You find that this middle picture right here is a picture you see a lot. You can pull it up on the internet. It is in 1973. It's the crusade of Billy Graham in Korea. At that crusade, Billy Kim, Dr. Billy Kim, who is he is like the Billy Graham here. He is the Billy Graham of Korea. Okay? Does that make sense? Has anybody ever heard of Billy Kim before? If you have, you can raise your hand. He is an awesome man. I'm going to tell you a little more about him in just a few minutes, what God has done in his life. But you watch, and he at this crusade, he was one of the main ones who began the push for it, and they didn't have anywhere to host it, so they hosted on the airstrip at the airport. They had over 1 million people within 3 days. And they were walking to get there, sometimes days on end to be able to get to this crusade. And there were thousands upon thousands and thousands who gave their life to Jesus. And God, in that time, turned that culture around. And so this is Brother Ralph speaking with Billy Kim as the interpreter. He speaks great English, and so there was we were able to communicate in a great way in Korea. Everybody asked, were you afraid? I never felt afraid. There was nothing to be afraid of. There was no policeman with guns. I was there for 9 days. I never heard one siren. There's 10 million people in the city where we were in. Not one siren ever went off. I never seen a fire truck and never seen a police car going down the road chasing anybody. Now, ain't that crazy? We hear that 24/7. So you think it is a different culture. Does that mean it's all perfect? No. Does that mean there's not any crime? No. Does that mean there's things that are happening now that they are afraid they're seeing begin to happen with their culture? I'll talk about that in just a second. Inside of the FEBC, this is a wall. This entire wall is letters from North Korea. North Korea, a communist country taken over in the 1950s when the Korean War happened. It was one nation, one country, the peninsula of Korea. In the 50s, the war takes place, communist country shuts down North Korea. As it is shut down, guess what happens? That was a place, we find out a little bit later, where Christianity had grown in a mighty way. So when that wall comes down and that border is there, there is still believers. There's a lot of believers in North Korea. That was one of the main central places where Christianity was the great population. So wow. Even in those times, I talked about this morning, even in those times of good people, there's things still happening in good people's lives. Amen? And so it's happened in North Korea. So in North Korea, there was no communication. So FEBC is a radio ministry. They do they have 1.5 billion listeners every single day. It is in North Korea. It covers the whole North Korea. It covers China. It covers into Russia and into Japan. They are preaching the gospel into these countries every single day. And you think about what is taking place. So they had no idea, are people in North Korea here? They would take radios, set them at the border, and within 3 days, every radio, no matter where they put it, was gone. They would come steal those radios, take them back. And so these are letters where they opened up some communication where people could at least send letters. They got letters from all over North Korea and China telling about how Jesus had saved them, and because they got saved, now there are churches that are going on in North Korea, a communist country, because of the gospel and because of a radio station. And you think about that for just a minute, if you will. Just as we were there, had happened just a couple months ago that in North Korea there was a radio. They had a radio listening to the FEBC. As they were gathered around, there were 120 people listening to this radio broadcast about salvation, about Jesus, and about church and learning discipleship through this radio broadcast. They were invaded by the North Koreans who came in to where they were listening to this radio. 40 of them, they killed them on the spot in front of the other 80. The other 80, they took them to prison. Can I ask you a question? Have you listened to any Christian radio? If you listen to Christian radio, raise your hand. Somewhere. Did you ever feel threatened listening to Christian radio? We take it for granted what God has given us. They were gathered knowing that if somebody caught them listening to a broadcast about Jesus, that they could lose their lives. And so that is what's happening. All across these countries right here, Europe, South Africa, Asia, they are broadcasting. It's a Far East broadcast, and they are going into all of these countries. I just want to give you a little bit about right here. This is Billy Kim. When Billy Kim was a young man during the Korean War, this man right over here, just barely got a little bit on him right here. Billy Kim would go into the camp of the American soldiers, and he would shadow their shoes to try to get just some money. He would go sweep out their barracks or help clean their barracks as a kid. When he did, Carl Powers, who was in the military at the time, took Billy Kim under his wing. And he began to love Billy Kim. His name is not Billy Kim, by the way. Billy was given to him by the American soldiers. And so here's what ended up happening. He ended up bringing Billy Kim to, I believe it's in West Virginia, where he lived. Carl Powers was never married. He put all of his money into educating Billy Kim, into helping him. He brought him here. He gave him an education. He sent him to college. Through that, he got saved, and God raised him up. However, you never know what's going to happen when you touch somebody else's life. And so he said, in war we met, in peace we part. Between the two, Christ won our hearts. And so God gave Carl Powers the heart for Billy Kim, and through that, God has touched a nation. And so when you think about those things that are going on, I was privileged to go into Billy Kim's office, and as I did, I took pictures of his Bible laying on his desk. Praise the Lord. This is Brother Billy Kim with Mr. Wilcox, who owns Wilcox Travel, who has been going to Korea for over 40 years and has a burden for Korea and what God is doing there in Korea. This is a statement that is on the FEBC wall, and it's this: when one man meets another man, history is born. When a man meets God, miracles unfold. I want to tell you, miracles are taking place every single day. This is what happens inside of the one of the studios there. This young man right here was such a blessing. Speaks great English. He taught himself English. He didn't know a word of English at the age of 18 and began to teach himself by himself. After the Korean War, he began to teach himself the English alphabet, and he wanted to learn English by himself. He said, we have Korean people that talk English. He said, if you listen to people, nobody can understand them. He said, we have people from Australia teaching them English, people from Britain that were teaching English. He said, you can't hardly understand them. He said, so I want to teach myself. And he is like, his English was better than mine. Amen. Praise the Lord. So, but what he does, he interprets radio broadcasts. So he'll take a radio broadcast that is given here, and he will, a 30-minute broadcast, it takes them 3 days to listen to a 30-minute broadcast. Because he has to interpret every single word of it He plays the English part and speaks it in Korean. And so he does that so that they can get the gospel out. This was inside of that studio. This is inside of the FEBC. This was our team that was there for that time. And so this was was the privilege to get a picture with Dr. Billy Kim. This is on about a 27-story building. Every building that we went into in South Korea was like a skyscraper. It is amazing how they have been blessed. We were here to eat lunch, supper. They eat like 24 hours a day. I mean, it's like every time you turn around, it's time to eat. I'm thinking, man, how much can y'all eat? But here is just a regular going down the street kind of deal. I took a lot of pictures out the window. So this was on Thursday. We went to the FWBC, then we went across town to where they were having a missions conference. This is like in the middle of the week. It was like every day, somewhere church is going on, mission conference is going on, all these things. Their heart was revival again. God, we need revival. And so Brother Ralph preached at this church, and you can see they're gathering for this whole conference, seeking God for revival. There's a couple things that happen every single service that I've noticed, and that is anytime that anyone mentioned North Korea, there was a shout that always went out because they have been praying for their family in North Korea. Think about Hudson, North Carolina for just a minute. If you had people here in Hudson, North Carolina that live on this side of 321, and you have relatives that live on the other side of 321, and one day you cannot get to them anymore because that border has been drawn. That's exactly what happened in North and South Korea. Families here, families here. That border was drawn. They still have families. They could look at each other across the fence. They could never get to each other. And so they are crying out for their family members that are in North Korea. So anytime, any conference that we were in, any service that we were in, they are crying out for God to touch North Korea because their family are there, their friends are there, and they want them to be set free. Amen? And so that is what's going on. This is a conference. Almost every place we went, you can see right here maybe just a little bit. This was Psalm 23. They put it in Korean and in English. They learn both languages. And in the schools, actually in their schools, they try to learn at least 3 languages. And every student. So this was on Friday morning. This is about 5:30 in the morning. We were headed to the second prayer service of the morning on Friday. I'll skip this. This was just down the street. You can see they had open market with. We walked down the street right below our hotel, and so that's kind of what the streets look like in Korea, in Seoul, Korea, where we're. This church is a Presbyterian church, and this was their 5 o'clock. This was their second service on Friday morning. This is a 6 o'clock prayer service. When we pulled up, it was like a Sunday morning service at a place where there's 10,000 people. There were like every parking attendant. There were parking attendants out there. They all had on white coats. They're directed. They're like this. I mean, they are so happy to see it is like, you're like, wow. I mean, you feel like royalty when you pull up. They're like pointing where to go. I do not know how many times I did this. I had abs that was unbelievable. I mean, it was like everywhere you went, everybody, they are like, they are tickled to death. You feel like, and you are just, you're like the greatest person in the world. And can I tell you, when people come to church, they need to feel like they're the greatest person in the world. That you are so happy that they're here, that it is almost unbelievable that your teeth get ready to pop out. You smile so much. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. I said it was 6 o'clock in the morning. This is service number 2. This is day number 5 of all of that. They do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They do it 5 days a week, two prayer services every single morning. And so when you watch what is taking place, this is inside this service. We walked inside this sanctuary. I've never experienced church buildings the way these were. This one that looked like a church building, there's a few more that did, but when you look inside, it was unbelievable. And I don't know if you can see this right here. You don't see that little purple right there, just a little bit. That is I mean, it is huge inside this church. This church will probably seat about 7,000 people. And inside this sanctuary, that is a picture or a drawing or a carving of Jesus on a rock in the assembly praying. So I want to tell you, when I think about this, and I've heard about this more than one time, as I said, but when I walked into this church service, the day before, we'd been in FEBC. It's kind of expected. You walk in, this is a place of business where they're conducting business, although it's a Christian environment. And these people are like, hey, how you doing? They're all bowing, all this. But when you walk into this prayer service, outside people are like, how you doing? When you come into the sanctuary, everybody was praying. Everybody was sitting down that morning before service starts with their heads bowed and praying. I thought, wow. So we're there probably 10 minutes before service. I did not capture many pictures. I'm just going to be honest with you. I was more overwhelmed. And so we're sitting in this service, and Brother Ralph was going to speak, and I don't know how these things have kind of transferred in my computer, but I have a video, and it's on my Facebook page. You scan down to find it. It is them singing "It Is Well With My Soul" in Korean. The words were in English and Korean. It was absolutely unbelievable. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. When Brother Ralph goes to the podium, it is huge. And I wish I could pull this up. I'm right here. Can y'all see these shoes this dude's got on? Okay, can you see the white sole on the shoes? When you go to the pulpit, you take your shoes off. And you walk up on the pulpit with no shoes on. Then they give you a pair of shoes that ladies in the church are in the basement and they make these shoes. They are only for the pulpit area. You don't wear the shoes that's been out on the street up to the pulpit in this church. They don't want anything to defile that area. And so when Brother Ralph gets up to speak, they come over and lay a pillow down behind the pulpit for him to step up on this pillow and stand on a pillow, so that it wasn't anything between, where he needed to be elevated in the presence of God, for God to speak. There is a reverence that more than anything that they need in their life, they need the presence of God. And I want to tell you, in church, it don't matter what church looks like, what people look like, more than we need the presence of God. And so in this service this morning, on this Thursday morning, God absolutely changed my life. Here's what happened in every service. I had no idea what was going on. Brother Ralph preaches. I don't understand what he says. That's a blessing. Has an interpreter. Billy Kimmel's his interpreter. And the pastor gets up, he begins to speak, and all of a sudden he says, "Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Hallelujah!" And everybody says, I'm talking like 6,000 people sitting in this building, as loud as they can say. And when they give those three hallelujahs, it was like a war call to pray. And you had 6,000 people, or several thousand people, immediately crying out loud in prayer. The prayer meeting time, as far as the singing, Brother Ralph speaking, Anything, the offering, those few things that need to take place was just a few minutes of time, less than probably 20 minutes. The rest of that hour, they prayed. I'm not talking about, Lord, thank you this day, and praise the Lord, help us to do right, which is good to pray. I'm talking about, God, if you don't touch us, we're going to die. God, if you don't breathe on us, nothing's going to happen. It happened every single day of the week. You say, why would they go pray every day of the week? It is because they said these words, and I've used this, and I've said it before, but it was because, here's what they said. They say, God, you give us 24 hours a day, at least we can give you one of those 24 and pray. So they prayed. They prayed with intensity. That you heard people on the altar, you seen people laying on the floors. They were calling out, God, I want you to save my loved ones. God, save North Korea. God, bless America. Everywhere that we went, I felt the same thing, and I don't know how many times people would say the same thing. Thank you for sending your soldiers here to keep us free. I asked them, I said, how did y'all learn this language of prayer? How did y'all learn it to us to pray? I said, oh, we learned it from you. We learned it from the war. Those American soldiers, so they'd come over here, they would pray. So they get ready to eat, they'd pray. They would get down and get ready to do something, they would pray. It's like, wow, what has happened to us? So here, this is outside the church. I know we're going to be cutting close here in just a minute, so I'm going to kind of speed up. This is outside the church. Again, this is Thursday morning, and at this church, every single church we went in had a restaurant. What I'm talking about. They all had a coffee house and a restaurant in their buildings somewhere. I'll show you one in just a minute on Sunday that we went into. But here they have one here. It said, I will awaken the dome. It was a place you go into. It's a place of fellowship, a place of reaching their community. So this is 6 o'clock in the morning. We drive from there. We are going to a place that is up in the mountains. I'm going to be real honest with y'all. We had no idea where we was going. We just get on the van. We didn't know where we was going to end up, where we was going. There would be the driver would be saying, we're going to Pooveys. And we're like, yeah, okay, drive on, son. No clue. This is, it took us, I really don't know how long we drove. We were talking, we were praying. God had so smitten our heart in that prayer meeting. And we were praying this whole entire way. We don't even know how long it took us to get there. There were things going, people in the van saying, hey, pray for this. My son's on drugs, pray for this. This is going on, pray for this. We had a prayer meeting all the way. This was about probably an hour or 2 hours away. This is a valley. Anybody ever heard of Samsung? Anything Samsung. Samsung has a kingdom. Over there, whenever they have lots of land or whatever, it's a kingdom. Samsung has 6 kingdoms. This is one. This whole little valley right here, all these mountains. Does this look like anywhere we live? It's like the Blue Ridge Mountains, maybe. Watch out. So this is in northern South Korea, and this is a golf course. It's a 52-hole golf course, something like that. I wasn't impressed. I ain't no golfer. Amen. No, it was like pristine. I was driving by this. There was never a blade of grass that was taller than any other. It was like, it was carpet. One of the Samsung daughters owns this whole entire resort. And this is her kingdom. And so in her kingdom, it's called Oak Valley. You can look it up online. It's a huge, big resort also. But in that resort and all those golf courses that she owns, she said, we need a place to worship. There's no church there. So she built Oak Valley Church for anybody that comes that they can worship. They have 150 regular attenders, people that are members of the church. And in this church, you'll see this is the church. This happens to be the pastor. We walked up and he's like, I mean, this is on a Thursday. He's like, where'd y'all come from? Whatever, who are y'all? He didn't ask any questions. He just invited us in. We went in and had a worship service. He began to tell us about people all over the world that come, and he gets to preach the Word of God to them. Amen. So, and the whole Samsung family, all of them are not believers. Some of them are. There's like 6 kids. This is one of them. She is a believer, and she wants everybody to know Jesus. When you walk with Dr. Kim over there, he can go in places you would never ever believe. God just give him favor with the entire country. It's amazing. So he just like, hey, this is where we're going. This is what we're doing. This is a big museum. I want to tell you something about Brother Ralph Sexton that you may not know. Brother Ralph Sexton is he's like a comedian. Now, when we see him, he's preaching, he's in these crusades, and it's like he's the most serious person. But I want to tell you what is happening right here. There's a statue. You'll see a statue right behind him. Okay, this little tour guide in this museum is a brand new museum that they wanted us to go in and look at. It was really weird, just to be honest with y'all. And we were all like looking around like, wow. Brother Ralph just steps up this thing and starts telling us about this man. I mean, I'm talking like all kind of facts. Everybody's just listening. He did not have a clue what he's talking about. He was selling it all to everybody. So the tour guide, she's just looking at him like, wow, how did you know that? But anyway, this was, they're weeding a little garden. That's how they do it. I just want to kind of give you an overview. We were passing through there to get to here. This was an FEBC steering committee, which is like a board. There were hundreds of people. To be on that, you had to give, I forget how much money it is per year to the FEBC, which funded the whole entire thing. So in other words, people think that it's great to be able to invest in 1.5 billion people hearing the gospel every single day. So I want to tell you, when we think about the whole thing as what our Christian life is really about, it's about sharing the word. Everywhere you went, they're talking about how to get the gospel out. Every church, how do we reach more people? How do we get the gospel out? What are we here for? We're here because people need Jesus and they need to know how to live for Jesus. So Brother Ralph got to speak here. This is on Friday night. On this Friday night, we are in the world's largest church. They have 1 million members. 1 million members. Brother Ralph speaks at this church. This is a Friday night prayer meeting. This building holds 12,000 people. It is right downtown Seoul, Korea. It was built in the 1970s after that crusade when God came through. Matter of fact, it was being built during that crusade, and God has used that church in a mighty way. It is a full gospel church, which is different denominations. It's a full gospel church. So, Brother Ralph preaches here. You can see they have, look at all these flags. Y'all see that? All around their sanctuary, representing all the countries where the gospel is going out, where they have missionaries going into. After this meeting that took place in this church, all of a sudden, this is a prayer meeting on Friday night at 9 p.m. You remember they had a prayer meeting at 5 and 6 o'clock in these churches on Friday morning. They have a Friday night prayer meeting after they go home, go get their groceries, play with the kids, put the kids to bed, and then some of them go, one of the parents go to a prayer meeting at 9 p.m. on Friday night. Sometimes they get home at dawn on Saturday morning. All of a sudden, we are in this prayer meeting where Ralph speaks, people respond. The pastor says, "Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Hallelujah!" And all of a sudden, you cannot even hear for people crying out to God. It's almost, you're like, wow, does this happen? Happens every single day of the week. They know we need God. We walked down in the basement with the pastor. He began to tell us about what really was taking place that night. And he said, oh, yeah, oh, there's like 12,000 people. I mean, he was talking like 12,000 people, like you were in line at Wendy's and there's 3 people in front of you to eat. He said, yeah, there's about 12,000 people, here. He said, but tonight you spoke to 650 more churches at the same time. He said there's 650 churches that have a big screen. When I'm saying big screen, they have LED bigger than these walls. That is a screen, and they had full churches, church buildings, where they're sitting watching this screen with somebody leading them in the same service. In that service alone on that Friday night, there was over 500,000 people. That blows my mind, doesn't it? I mean, we look at the media, and the media wants you to think that everybody in the world don't love Jesus. And that nobody wants church anymore. Look at church in America, where we have 90% of churches in America that are plateaued, which means they're not growing anymore. It means that they are on a decline. 90%. What are we missing? I think we're missing the one thing they have. Spending time with God. This church, this little dude right here was the pastor. I know y'all cannot see this, but this right here is a little tent where the church started. And so he started out with this church, which is now the world's largest church, and he began to pray. God, he said, Lord, he said, like got me a bicycle. He said, a bicycle never come. He said, he kept thinking, Lord, I need a bicycle. Bicycle never came. He said, you know something? I learned how to pray when I needed a bicycle. He said, I started saying, God, you need a bicycle for me to ride. I can't go reach people unless I got a bicycle to go to where they are. Lord, you need to give a bicycle so I can go out for your glory and reach them. And that day, God gave him a bicycle. Because it changed from, Lord, I need a bicycle, to God, for your glory and for who you are. Lord, you need a bicycle so I can ride it. You ever thought about we're just a vessel for him? And God changed them, and that's how the church began to grow and became the largest church in the world. That was on Friday. On Saturday, I got to see this dude right here every day. His name was Glad, by the way. And every morning he was outside our hotel. And so on Saturday, we go to the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone, the only one in the world. And this is a place called the Park of Reunification. It's a place where they used to, North Korea, before all the things that have happened in the past couple of years, they used to allow some of them to come over and have a unification with a family under surveillance, if you will. And so they allowed them to do that every so often. Sometimes it was once a year, sometimes it was more, or sometimes it was less often. But they built memorials for those for the war and for those that lost their lives in the war, that also for America, the American soldiers that lost their lives in the war. And so every year they were able to do that. There's a bridge right here, this little bridge that they would walk across from this tree line back here is North Korea. And so they would walk across that, be able to meet some of their kin people. But now, of course, that has all been closed off. This is the fence that is there, and they have ribbons of hope. That is prayers written on these. There's messages to families that are written on these, just in case some of their families ever get there and see those ribbons, so that they can know that they have a family in South Korea that is praying for them and that is there hoping that they will see them again, and just let them know that they're praying for them. This next place that we are, this is all the same place. This is a train that happened to be there in the war. This was the place where the railroad was taking things North and South Korea. You can see these big holes that were blown into it. There's bullet holes everywhere. Korea allowed South Korea to come in and get this train and be able to put it here in this reunification park. There's shell casings, there's bullets, there's all that. I'm actually standing inside of North Korea. You can pay $1 and run for your life. You can pay $1 and be able to go through a gate and go over into North Korea on a bridge. So I was told before I left, don't you dare go into North Korea. So I was able to do that under surveillance. But this is North Korea all around right here. This whole highway separates North and South Korea. It is that close where people live. This is the demilitarized zone to where they have found the tunnels that come from North Korea into South Korea. We were able to go into the tunnels, but we were not able to take pictures in the tunnels. In those tunnels, which they have found 4 of them, and they've closed them all off. This is another one that they found that we were able to go into. But you can, they're just right here. This tunnel was coming into Seoul, Korea, and they said within 30 minutes they could have hundreds of thousands of soldiers from North Korea into South Korea through these tunnels. You think about that for just a minute. Go to bed at night, and these tunnels open up, and you wake up in the morning with hundreds of thousands of soldiers standing in your streets. That is what they were doing. And so that is where we are. Right here it says, this is a place where you look over into North Korea. Right here, this is the border of North Korea at the DMZ. And you can look over it just right here. And then it says, end of separation, beginning of unification. Everywhere we went, we heard that, received that. They're longing for that to happen. And so you watch that taking place. This is North Korea. I have tons of pictures into North Korea. You can magnify them. You can blow them up. You can look everywhere. You never see anybody. These are towns right here. And I'm trying to see if I can see one of them in this picture. But over this way, about right in here, there's a big blue town with huge blue buildings. No life whatsoever. It is a fake town. They actually have some towns that are closer to the border where they hire actors. They take people in North Korea to come down to that town and they walk around like this the whole time. They want people to see them and think that everything is okay in North Korea. So this is looking over into North Korea. Here's some things. They had sayings. We're standing where the DMZ is. This is happy together, that we can be strong. They realize that what they used to have, they can have again. This is standing at the gateway. This little place right here is the road that is built. That as soon as that is opened up, that is where all the traffic will be. This is how they will go from North Korea into South Korea. They already have the highways built. Hyundai, which also owns Kia, they built this whole entire highway into North Korea. They are ready for it to be torn down so that there can be that open gate again. So you can see this is South Korea, all this is North Korea, and bordering all of that is Russia. But this slider here, which you can't see it, it is a piece of barbed wire. It goes right across through here. What they did, they took a piano and they took all the strings out of it and they strung it with barbed wire instead of piano strings, and said this is what it sounds like, or the way our heart does, because of the break that has took place in life. So they're living in that brokenness of what has taken place. And this is that same thing. This is that barbed wire, and it says a piano of unification. Sing in unity with the symbol of division. And so that is their longing. This little place where we were at that time was a train station. This train station actually hooks together all of Europe. So what in the world does that have to do with anything? Friend, I'm going to tell y'all something. We don't realize sitting in Hudson, North Carolina, how close we are to having a one world government. It is closer than we can ever even imagine. They have trained, they have all the systems in place when you go into these countries. But they had a train that would actually run up through North Korea, over through Europe. It goes to China, Russia. It hits all these places that they can use this system. They shut it completely down at the border, so it no longer goes that way because of the leadership that is in North Korea. This bridge is a bridge that is built. You do not drive down the lanes. You have to drive through barricades the whole entire time because they don't want people coming flying through there. You have to go through checkpoints, all that stuff with the bus. It is very safe. There's no threat, whatever. But that is there. They have it set up just for that, just getting ready to open that border. In the town, whenever you're coming back from North Korea, you see these military. This is South Korea. Every one of those has soldiers in it. They're watching the border 24 hours a day. I talk every young person in Korea, male and female. They all go to the army. They serve at least 2 years in the army. In North Korea, men serve 10 years. Women serve, I believe it's 7 or 9 years in the military. But in South Korea, they all go also to the military. And I was talking to the dude on the plane with me on the way back. He said, yeah, he said, when I was in the military, he said, I was stationed at the DMZ. He said, and I seen North Korea. I mean, he said, I was like here, and North Korean soldiers were here. He said, the first day I was scared to death. He said, after that, I just kind of got used to it. Nobody even paid attention to anybody anymore. By the way, something that's kind of how things happen in life. We get used to things. We forget the threat sometimes. But here, this is going back into Seoul, Korea. Seoul, Korea used to have one bridge that came into Seoul, Korea. Now, there's like 20. It's the place of more suicide has become the number one thing that is happening in Seoul, Korea, and it's happening among young people. And here's one of the reasons why. Because American culture is taking over in South Korea. This happens to be a mall. It was probably 10 stories high. I was looking for something that was written in Korean. I didn't care if it was a t-shirt. I really didn't even know what it would say. I just wanted to see something written in Korean. Y'all know what I mean? He said, I'll go down there at this mall. All I found was American Eagle, Nike, all that kind of stuff. But this was a mall we'd walk to. So that happened on Saturday. This is on Sunday. This is Dr. Billy Kim's church. I want to tell you something about this church. This is it's Central Baptist Church, and they have about 7 services every Sunday morning, back to back. About 7 services. Matter of fact, every church over there has multiple services because they have so many people they cannot get them all in the building at the same time, and so they have multiple services. In the 1970s, there was about 800 people who were members of this church. In 3 weeks, they had 36,000 members. Register that for just a minute. They had 800 members, and within 21 days, they had 36,000 members. What would you do with that? The book of Acts says the same thing happened. That's what happened as a result of the crusade, and then from that point, God began to move. So this is in the Central Baptist Church. This is the dude that makes all the lens for Samsung, whatever, cameras, phones, whatever. He makes all the lens. He has 6 factories that are spread. He has 2 in Korea, 2 in China, and 2 in Vietnam. And so what their heart is, that no matter where their factories are, they have one desire. That is for all of their workers to know Jesus. So in Vietnam, where his factory, as a matter of fact, he was a scripture reader for that day. They read scripture. I was able to meet people who were ambassadors to other countries. I mean, there's like sitting coffee shops. Around here, they would be idolized. Y'all know what I mean? They're their people. And they were like, oh yeah, we serve. I mean, they were like the most humble people, serve the Lord. He had a factory. He had 2 factories in Vietnam. And when he went into Vietnam, he said, look, I want to build these factories, have so many workers, we'll have a chapel inside. They said, oh, you can't have a chapel here. He said, oh, whoa, you can't have my companies. They said, well, just don't tell anybody you go. So we had chapel inside of his companies. And so Franklin Graham was doing a crusade not far from where he was. And so he asked them about taking. They said, oh, we can't do that. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to have all of my employees, we're going to have a cookout, family eating. He chartered buses to come in to where they were. He bought all of his factory workers the same kind of hat. Gave them all hats. I said, oh, by the way, we want to go tonight. If you want to go, we want to do a crusade. They go to this crusade. They said there was a whole section with all these hats. At the invitation time, all these hats start coming out and getting saved. And they're able to disciple them inside the factory. I want to tell you, God's working. Amen. And so on this Sunday, we go to we went to an authentic Korean restaurant, which I was like, yes, praise the Lord. And so all this food that's there, so I told y'all we ate a lot. We went to a place called Dijon, which is 2 hours away. Another FEBC headquarters that is there about halfway through the country in Korea. Dr. Billy Kim, we spent about 2 hours with him. I mean, everywhere you go, he just shows up. He was like, man, you be at McDonald's, you just show up. It was amazing. But he was talking, he asked me, he said, where are you from? I said, I'm from Hudson, North Carolina. He said, oh yeah, I've been in Hickory passing out tracts. He starts telling all these people, yeah, I preach at such and such church in Lenore. And I mean, I'm going, man, he's 80-some years old. Still going quite up. This is just in that city. This is what I was telling you about. This is a restaurant that the church owns in Dijon. This church is a Presbyterian church, I believe. And this church, here's what it says. This is the name, Vision. As you can see right here is the English part of that name. But it says the Gate of Heaven Church Vision Center. Now it's a little bit strange because when you went into this restaurant, which was like a coffee house, served kind of smoothies, that type of thing. I mean, there was coffee every single corner that you went around and these churches. This is inside their restaurant of the church. And so what they do with that is they raise their money from their missions through the restaurant of the church. People at the church eat at the restaurant. People in the community eat at the restaurant. They use it to support missions in the community. They give back for that restaurant. In this restaurant, this dude right here, and this guy, the pastor said, hey guys, y'all come over here and give testimony. This dude starts giving testimony. He's one of these, he said, like a nerd brainiac kind of dude. Lives by himself, just intelligent. You know what he's doing right now? He is researching, trying to find a cure for Parkinson's. That's all he's doing. That's his whole goal. He said, I want God to use me to bring healing. This dude right here, he said, oh, where y'all from? He said, North Carolina. Oh, Greensboro. This is a Samsung dude. He's in the Samsung family, and he has a factory down in Greensboro. So he gives a testimony about what God's doing in his life, how God's using him and reaching people. In that restaurant alone, they bring in $1.2 million a year. Look at somebody and say, you're crazy. $1.2 million a year, and they support every function in the church through the restaurant. As far as giving to missions, you say, why do they do that? Because people eat. So why are you going to give it to somebody who's going to use it for Satan? So, here's a sign that's in the church that said, expect great things from God, attempt great things for God. That was a missionary, William Carey, who said that. They had missionaries all over the church engraved in granite. Everywhere we went, it's skyscraper churches. This community church kind of shows that is their symbol. Talks about Jesus wrapping up the whole entire community. It was a college. They had a college in the church. They had a school in the church. They had, I don't know if I got any of these buildings in here or not. That is a church building. I mean, that is part of their block in the church that they own. So this was their parking team, and they had a parking garage. So they have like multi-level parking garages that, and this was their evening service. And you think, well, okay, so evening service, well, that's where we were. This is their evening service. Just before they open up, they have people singing. You see this dude standing right here? Y'all see him? Y'all can now, can't you? Because they have green around. Here's how they do their church. They stand down front. When you come in the door, there's ushers at the door. There's ushers outside or at the door. I'm telling you, they're all over just right here. And they eat all the time. They don't gain any weight. They working out. What they do is he's standing down here, right here, because nobody's in these pews. And there's people all the way down through there giving them this, like we would be shaking hands, leading them down to where this dude is. When that pew gets full, he steps to the next one. He leads it. They fill it all the way up. You can see right here, this is a Sunday night, and mostly college kids on a Sunday night. So that's a Presbyterian church. Brother Ralph preached that. This is part of the church also. We left there on Sunday night. Got on a train that goes back to Seoul, Korea. It was a train that went 200 miles per hour. I never known it was just like just sitting right here. It was like, wow. Monday morning, we go to it's 13 minutes after 8. We'll wrap it up right here in just a second. Monday morning, we go to they have in the middle of Seoul, Korea. Land, by the way, in Seoul, Korea is about $30 million an acre. Think about that for just a minute. So in the middle of Seoul, Korea, there is what they call a missionary museum. Right in the middle of downtown. This is where it was. Here was one of the sayings on the wall, which absolutely, one of my favorite sayings, oh, I pray that I may be faithful and not mind about success. Just be faithful to do what God says to do. I don't have a lot of all of my pictures here. I took a picture of every tombstone there. But here is flags of missionaries that gave their life in Korea and served in Korea. Korea got the gospel in the late 1800s. Two missionaries, a Presbyterian and a Methodist missionary, go over to Korea to begin bringing the gospel. From that time, in the 1850s when they started, more had the burden. Here's one who said, if I had 1,000 lives to give Korea should have them all. So there was a burden that they gave. When I read that, it may not be Korea, but what about us? If I had 1,000 lives to live, and I'm a Sunday school teacher, my Sunday school class should have them all. If I have 1,000 lives to live, and I'm a band driver, they ought to have them all. There ought to be a passion. When you serve God, there ought to be a passion. Amen. No matter what place we're serving the Lord, it should be a passion to give all of our heart. So those graves, I wish I had time to go through all of them. The missionaries are buried there. You can see in the 1950s when the war, it was happening right here. They were behind the tombstones. Whenever the war was going on, they were shooting at the tombstones, trying to get to them. Those two missionaries that went in the 1850s are buried in this graveyard. Here's what happened before they ever went. They began to interpret the Bible into Korean. So when they went, they took the Word of God. So the first time they ever had the Bible was in the 1800s. Y'all do know the 1800s ain't been real far back. Y'all know that, right? And so they had the Word of God. They began in about 1830. 30, trying to put the Word of God together and interpret it from Korean into Korea so they could take it to them when they got to the land and begin to share Jesus with them. And so this museum kind of took you through all of that. And so it was absolutely one of the most heart-wrenching things to see that two people, one of those missionaries, never preached a sermon. He went, began to give out the word, began to talk to people, and had a boating accident, canoe, whatever it was, and lost his life. But he gave them the word. These others began to preach. Then they began to do, a hospital came because of a missionary. Schools came because of missionaries, gospel missionaries. So they began to preach the gospel to them. That on Monday night we had a time of fellowship, reflection about revival, just a prayer meeting in general. On Tuesday morning we went to some schools. This was a girls' school, just like hundreds of girls in this school. And what they do is they do what we're supposed to do. They teach them at an early age that they need to be serving God. And they continue to teach them that. You say, not in public schools. They have so much influence through the church and the power of the gospel that they are doing it at church, they're doing it at home, and they're doing it in schools. These are private schools. A lot of them are private schools, boys' schools, girls' schools. They are teaching them how to live for God, what their desire is. These are some girls that were giving their life to the Lord, that they need Jesus. They were worshiping, they were praising God. This is some of their classrooms, and you can't see this, but they were writing in English. Concentrate on your work, keep quiet. Have a goal, aim high, think big, make your dream come true. They had no idea we were walking in. We just happened to get a tour of the school there that day. So this was kind of some things that's on the wall. Mathematics reminds us that we live in an intelligently designed world. The human ability to solve mathematical problems is a good gift that has been given to us from God. That whatever we do, it comes from God. This was a badminton game that happened. We don't even want to say anything about that. I was doing that stuff. What's it called? Whenever at the Olympics. What is it? Curling. Is that not the craziest thing ever? I curled out there. That was me pushing her down through there. Anyway, so that was part of their sport. This was a university that we went to, started by American soldiers. American money started this university and all their universities that are there that we went to and that we knew about and that history told us about as we were there, and the university presidents told us about. Most of them were started by Christian people for Christian education. This is one of them. Huge university that in 1953, when the war was over, the American soldiers came, they bulldozed it all out, set all the foundations, they bulldozed the places for their sports arenas, for the schools, everything, so that it could get started. We got to meet the presidents of these, which were mostly in their 90s, and what a blessing that was. And so they all had chapels and chapel services, all that stuff. This was a Tuesday night in the 5th largest building in the world. This dude right here was scared to death. I don't know if y'all know who that is or not. His name is Rick Coke, in case he's listening. He was like scared. He was like a scared cat, all right? Because it was in the tallest building. This was, you can see all around for hundreds of miles. I guess we don't have a clue how far it was. It's a long way. So this was on Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, we're getting ready to leave. This was the last church that we went to. And I'm going to be honest with you. It was absolutely amazing. When you went into this church, it was a huge building. It was in the basement of this building. The ceiling in it was probably 10 feet maybe, just a straight building, no architect, nothing. You'll see it right here in just a minute. When you walked in, it said, "Person of Jesus, make a generation after the next." So what are they saying? They're saying, look, we realize that if we don't do something now, we're not going to have anybody in the future. The church is going to die. What has happened to the churches in America? We have let that die. I don't know how many people in my lifetime, I'm 50 years old, that's the first time I've ever publicly said that. I'm 50 years old, and I do not know how many people I have heard, especially in the last several years, say these words as parents. Well, I just got to let my youngins make their own way and their own choices. Can I just let y'all in on a little something? You ought to start doing that whenever they're a baby and got their own diaper on. That ain't going to turn out too good. And I'm going to tell you, when young people in our world today start making their own choices, it ain't going to turn out good. They're not going to choose to go to church. Because they got to be regenerated by the Holy Spirit to have a desire to come. You got to build a foundation for the next generation. You got to build it. So that's what this whole church was about. This is a Wednesday morning prayer meeting again. This is a ladies' prayer meeting. They had a VIP sitting where we were to come out. This was the worship leader. These ladies were singing. They had a choir. And you can see all the way back through here, there's probably at least 1,000 ladies across this church. That was just one little section. And here's something that happened. Brother Ralph preached. After he got through preaching, it was prayer time. So y'all know what happened, right? The lights go out. They turn every light in the church off. It's dark except for the screens right here that says pray. So why in the world they do that? We didn't even pay attention to it. I'm going to be honest with you. Have you ever heard Brother Danny Buchanan pray? Would you raise your hand? Did you know if Danny Buchanan would have been in that building, you'd never heard his voice? They were crying out to God. It was so loud, and you just instantly got the same kind of burden. You could feel that burden of God. You begin to leave. Found out a little later that a lot of churches turned out all the lights during prayer time because you should not even want to see anybody else. Focus on the fact that you need God. We left from that service, went up 16 floors to their restaurant. Same building. This was looking out the window of their church building. Matter of fact, it was we got on the elevator and you would like put 3 people on it, and then the buzzer would go off and somebody would step off and some smaller person would step on. You know, it was an older building. It was absolutely amazing. But almost every morning when I would get out real early in the morning, run through the park, there was a reminder. Run by this guy. No matter how much Christianity was going on, there was still a heritage of Buddhism, of idol worship, of those things that took place and was still taking place. That means there's still work to do. And every time we think about church and think about Christianity, and wow, God, you blessed and people and seats are full and all this kind of stuff, we can't lose sight that we ain't done. And we just started. And so when you look at this was on our way to the airport, that was in the airport, getting ready to come, there was a reminder of the world that was there. You get in that world, and there's every country in the world that is impressed around that, and it's like going all around the world. It's like, wow. It didn't have anything to do with Christianity. It just happened to be there. I got inside that thing and thought, God, well, the whole world needs Jesus. There's nowhere that don't need Jesus. This picture, you can pull it up on Google. This is a Google picture. This is a picture of South Korea. Can y'all see that? All of this is North Korea at night. Can y'all see that? Very few lights That is a country full of darkness. They're starving to death. They have no electricity. They have no food. They are literally starving to death, not only for the gospel, but they have nothing to eat. Here's another picture of it, which you can see even better. Look how big North Korea is. Look how much light is in South Korea. That's also gospel light. Their desire is to walk across here and to invade this whole country with Jesus. That will spread from here, all the way to here, all the way up in here where Russia is, Japan. In the early 1900s, Japan came, almost wiped out South Korea, took over, burned churches with people in them, locked the doors and burned them. Not long ago, some of those Japanese people that got saved came back over to the little church, place where the church was in South Korea that they burned with the people inside, and apologized to that community. They said, we want to rebuild it. They rebuilt the church there as a monument to say, please forgive us. It takes a lot to think about all these things that are taking place in this little place of South Korea, which has been so blessed. And God says it like this in the book of Psalms. He said, if a nation will bless me, I'll bless them. They've been blessed. Somebody asked me, said, what was it like over there? I mean, it was unbelievable. Their technology is at least 5 years ahead of us. We think we got it, man, because we got cell phones. They make them. You think about what is going on around our world. God, listen, it was such a blessing. I want to say I appreciate it more, as a pastor, but the burden that is there and the burden in my heart is to see God's people, us as churches, us as Pooveys Chapel, begin to have the burden to pray and see people get saved, and see people's lives change forever. God to do it again. Because guess what? We serve the same God. We serve the same God of the Bible. We serve the same God that has rescued them. The day we left happened to be their Memorial Day of the Korean War. We began to ask them on the day we left on that Wednesday, as we were leaving out to go to the airport. We began to ask them about them. He said, "Oh, it's our Memorial Day." He said, "It's a day that we honor America for keeping us free." We want to pray that God will continue to bless America. It's amazing to me. Think about another country praying for our country to continue to stay free so that they can be blessed and so that the word can continue to go forward. I have a few things here on the table you can look at. One of the most amazing things to me was we did not have time to go shopping hardly ever. We did go shopping, but as we did walk down the street, we had this. Spam. It was everywhere. Spam was a universal need of some kind. So I had a bag of spam. I have a Korean Bible, some other stuff you can look at here. These little things, a church was selling these. They made them, they're hand printed, and they put them on these boards. They were selling them to raise money for missions. So what a blessing. You think about their passion. There's some money here. Their money was like, I mean, you go up, if you bought a drink over there, it might say 45,000. You're like, are you serious? But it was 1,001. Their money, the exchange of their money to our money was like unbelievable. I mean, it was like, you look at these price tags, you're like, are you kidding? And then they ring it up, they say, oh yeah, it's $4. You're like, oh yeah. So you can look at some of the stuff that we have here. Have a copy of the life of Billy Kim that he personally signed and gave to us. What a blessing to hear those stories. The military, they go on the military bases. There's a video that we watched where thousands of their military gave their life to Jesus. They had an Olympic-sized swimming pool. They had pastors lined up all across the middle, and these soldiers were lined up behind those pastors having a baptism service where they give their life to Jesus. Ain't that a blessing? I want to tell you, God is still at work in our world. And we should never be blinded by media, by Satan, or our small expectations of what God can do. Because God's a big God and He's working big. Amen. And I'm going to tell you, Hudson, North Carolina is in the target of God. We need to realize God can do it here. Amen. God can work in our lives, and we want to praise Him. I want you to pray with me tonight, and let's just trust the Lord together. Father, thank you for speaking to us. God, thank you for the opportunity you've given us, God, to know you. And Lord, I want to personally thank you for the opportunity you gave me, God, to be able to walk in a place and see the book of Acts working among your people. Where, Lord, they had one desire. That was everything they did was to share who you are. God, may we have that burden in our lives to where we realize, God, without you, we have nothing, we are nothing, God, we will see nothing. We've got to have your power. We got to claim your promise. And God, we got to step out in your word and believe you for what you said, so that we, God, might be the soldiers of the cross, a force in the world of the gospel. Not on the defense, just waiting for the enemy to come, but on the offense, going forward, stepping into the battle, stepping into our community, stepping into our families' lives, stepping into the world around us so people can know you as Savior and Lord of their lives. God, I just want to praise you for what you're doing. God, I ask you to lead us and guide us and direct us in Jesus' name. Amen.